Hi, I'm certified elder law attorney Zach Anderson, here to tell you about VA benefits for long-term care. The first thing that we need to think about is VA disability compensation. This is that cash monthly tax-free benefit that's paid on the incremental level in 10% increments based on your VA disability rating from the Veterans Administration. And this is the first stop on our analysis because the second benefit that I'm going to talk to you about, the VA pension or aid and attendance benefit, as we call it, that is only available if it's higher than your VA disability compensation. In other words, you can only take the higher of these two benefits. So whenever we get a family in that is a spouse or child or family member of a veteran, or the veteran themselves, and they've read about VA pension or aid and attendance, that's the first thing I think about and discuss with them is, are you getting VA disability? How much is it? Because if it's more than your maximum pension benefit, which it often is, then we're not getting the pension benefit. You can only take the higher of these two. So what is this pension benefit? Also called the aid and attendance benefit. Well, it's a cash benefit for veterans and surviving spouses to help defray the costs of long-term care. That is a cash benefit that you can spend on the veterans' health care, in-home care, home health, things like that. Not home health, in-home care. Home health and in-home care are different. Just a slip of the tongue there. But to be clear, it's a cash benefit you use to pay for the elders' long-term care. There are a few requirements for this benefit that are worth noting. First, the veteran must have served 90 consecutive days, at least 90 consecutive days, at least one of which was during wartime. Vietnam is by far the most common one that we see, but there is a wartime requirement. So if you served in 1985 only, you're not going to be eligible for the VA pension benefit because that was not a wartime as defined by the United States Congress. There's also a net worth limitation, and for 2024, that's $155,356. Now, there's countable assets and non-countable assets. So your home does not count here, and there's actually no limit like there is with Medicaid. So you could have a $16 trillion home and potentially still qualify for the VA aid and attendance benefit. Although I guess the property taxes and insurance would actually be so high that you probably couldn't afford that. But the point is, the home is not countable. Family transportation vehicle, a car, things like that, those are not countable, and a couple of other things. But that's going to be the net worth requirement. And there's also a transfer rule. So everybody's heard about the 5-year rule for Medicaid, where the state Medicaid agency of your state is going to look back 5 years looking for transfers. If you gave something away, they're going to penalize you for that, or something like that. Everybody's heard of that. That is the rule, but everybody's heard of it. For the VA aid and attendance benefit purposes, it's 3 years. So the VA has its own look back period. It's 3 years, but they do something interesting here. They say only the covered asset is going to result in the transfer penalty. So if you transfer your home or something like that, that's not considered a transfer for less than fair market value. They're not going to penalize you for that. Furthermore, if you're worth $100,000 and you give away $50,000, you have no penalty for purposes of the VA, because it's only the portion of the covered asset that they penalize you for. Because if you were worth 100K, you're below this net worth requirement, okay? You give away 50, you're still under 155. Now, if you were worth 155 or 200,000 and you give something away, then the VA kicks in a penalty. But if you're worth 100 and you give away 50 and your home for that matter, no penalty. So this is very, very different than Medicaid. We elder law attorneys wish this was the rule for Medicaid to be more generous to middle-class families, but this is a very unique rule, and it's only the portion of the covered asset that sustains the penalty. One final note about VA long-term care benefits, particularly with the pension and aid and attendance benefit, is 2018. In 2018, Congress drastically changed the laws around VA pension and aid and attendance benefits. I mean, really, really changed them. So if you read something on the VA pension or VA aid and attendance benefit that's from before 2018, I'm not telling you to rinse it. Well, yeah, you could probably just go ahead and just rinse it out of your mind. It's going to be totally different. They really, really clamp down on the type of planning that we can do for veterans with regard to long-term care planning. So be aware if you're reading an article from 2017 or before 2018 at any time, take it with a grain of salt. I hope you found this video helpful, and be sure and call our office if we can help.